My sister's wedding cake nearly killed me, and what we found in her fiancé's phone was the real poison. I've always known that my allergy was a burden. A severe, life-threatening nut allergy isn't just a dietary note. It's a constant low-grade hum of anxiety that follows you everywhere. A barrier between you and a world that often sees your need to not die as a personal inconvenience. It's the phantom itch in your throat when someone near you eats a granola bar, the cold dread of a shared kitchen, the meticulous scanning of every menu, every ingredient list, every well-meaning but potentially deadly homemade gift. My family, my rock-solid, wonderful family, had never made me feel that way. Our home in the leafy, serene suburbs of Oak Haven was my fortress. A meticulously nut-free zone where I could finally unclench my jaw and breathe easy, both literally and figuratively. My older sister, Chloe, had been my chief protector since we were kids, the one who'd scrutinize candy labels at Halloween, terrorize any date of mine who offered me a suspicious-looking cookie, and who once famously threw a whole batch of her own birthday brownies in the trash because she saw the phrase, "may contain traces of nuts" on the chocolate chip bag. So, when she met Ben, I trusted her judgment implicitly. I should have known that love, or what masquerades as it, can make even the smartest people dangerously, catastrophically blind. Chloe and Ben's whirlwind romance felt like something out of a movie, the kind you watch with a cynical eye, waiting for the third-act conflict. He was charming, successful, a rising star at a tech startup, and seemed to adore her with a fervor that was both flattering and, in retrospect, a little performative. He listened intently when, over a carefully vetted dinner at our parents' house, I explained my allergy. He asked thoughtful questions about cross-contamination, EpiPens, and the specific symptoms of anaphylaxis, his brow furrowed with what I mistook for genuine, endearing concern. "Absolutely, Maya," he'd said, placing a warm, reassuring hand on mine. "Your safety is paramount. I'll never forget it. We're a package deal, you and Chloe." I remember feeling a surge of relief so powerful it almost brought tears to my eyes. He was one of the good ones. He saw my condition not as a burden, but as a fact of life, a part of the woman he loved. Or so I thought. The first crack in the perfect, glossy facade appeared 6 months into their relationship, a hairline fracture that would later widen into a chasm. We were all at a trendy new farm-to-table restaurant in downtown Oak Haven, a place with reclaimed wood and Edison bulbs, to celebrate my dad's 60th birthday. I'd done my usual meticulous drill, called ahead 3 times, spoken directly to the chef, confirmed and reconfirmed their protocols for allergen separation. I'd even brought my own EpiPen and placed it conspicuously on the table, a silent reminder to the staff. When my dessert arrived, a beautiful dark chocolate fondant that the waiter assured me was baked in a dedicated nut-free pan, I felt a rare moment of unguarded pleasure. I took one small blissful bite. Almost instantly my tongue began to tingle, a faint, fuzzy sensation that quickly escalated into a burning itch. My throat felt thick like I'd swallowed a spoonful of sand. I froze, my fork clattering against the fine china plate. The sounds of the restaurant, the clinking glasses, the low murmur of conversation, seemed to fade into a distant roar. My mom, seated directly across from me, saw the panic in my eyes first. "Maya? Sweetheart, what's wrong?" Her voice was calm, but I heard the underlying tremor. I couldn't speak, couldn't force air through my constricting windpipe. I just pointed a shaky finger at the dessert, my eyes wide with terror. The next few minutes were a blur of frantic, well-rehearsed action. My dad lunging for my purse to find my EpiPen, my mom standing up and flagging down the manager with a voice that brooked no argument, Chloe's voice rising in alarm as she pushed back from the table. Ben just sat there, a look of bewildered astonishment on his face, as if he were watching a particularly dramatic play. The EpiPen's sharp sting in my thigh was a welcome pain, a jolt that brought the world back into focus just enough for me to be rushed to the ER, where a cocktail of steroids and antihistamines stopped the reaction from progressing to a full, catastrophic anaphylactic shock. It was terrifying but thankfully not catastrophic. The subsequent investigation with the restaurant's mortified owner revealed a tragic, honest mistake. A new, inexperienced line cook had used a serving paddle to scoop my nut-free dessert that had just been used for a pecan pie. It was a horrible accident, a failure of training but not malice. The restaurant comped the entire meal and offered a year of free dinners, but we were all too shaken to care. Later, as we were all decompressing in the familiar safety of our living room, everyone still pale and clutching cups of tea, Ben let out a long, weary sigh and shattered the fragile piece. "What a nightmare," he said, shaking his head. "You know, Maya, you have to be so careful. The world can't always bend to your allergy. It's an imperfect place. Sometimes you just have to take the risk." The room went so silent I could hear the hum of the refrigerator. Chloe turned to look at him, her face a mask of stunned disbelief. "Ben, what are you talking about?" This wasn't her taking a risk. This was a professional kitchen's mistake that almost killed her. She did everything right. He just shrugged, a dismissive little gesture that made my blood run cold. "I'm just saying, living in a bubble can't be much of a life. Maybe you need to build up a tolerance. A little exposure therapy. I read about it online. You start with microscopic amounts." My dad, usually the most placid man alive, slowly put down his teacup. His knuckles were white. "Exposure therapy? Ben, her immune system doesn't work like that. This isn't a fear of spiders you can desensitize. This is a medical reality. A single peanut protein can trigger a fatal chain reaction. That's not an opinion, it's a fact." Ben held up his hands in a gesture of mock surrender, a faint, condescending smile playing on his lips. "Hey, I'm just brainstorming. Trying to find a long-term solution. Sorry for caring." He made it sound like we were the irrational ones, the hysterical family unwilling to consider his brilliant logical ideas. Chloe, flustered and embarrassed, quickly changed the subject to the weather, and the moment passed. But the seed of doubt was planted, a tiny toxic weed in the garden of our family. He didn't get it. Worse, he thought he knew better than all of us, than my doctors, than my own body's near-death experience. I pulled Chloe aside the next day after a sleepless night replaying his words. "Are you sure about him?" I asked, my voice quiet. "What he said last night, it was really messed up. It wasn't caring, Chloe. It was arrogant and dangerous." She waved me off, but I saw a nervous edge to her voice, a flicker of unease she was trying to suppress. "Oh, don't be so dramatic, Maya. He's just a problem solver by nature. He sees a problem and he wants to fix it. He didn't mean it like that. He told me he feels absolutely awful about what happened. He didn't look like he felt awful. He looked inconvenienced, annoyed that our family drama had interrupted his nice evening out. But Chloe was in love, glowing with the happiness he brought her, and I didn't want to be the jealous, problematic little sister who ruined her happiness. I loved her too much for that. So, I bit my tongue until it hurt and resolved to be more vigilant around Ben, not just for hidden nuts, but for his condescending, know-it-all attitude that was starting to feel less like a quirk and more like a fundamental character flaw. Then came the engagement. It was extravagant, a flashy proposal during a hot air balloon ride at sunset, documented exhaustively on his social media. The wedding planning was a frenzy of dress fittings, floral arrangements, and tastings. I was to be the maid of honor, and I threw myself into the role, wanting to support my sister. And the cake tasting was where the Cold War turned hot. We were at the bakery, a beautiful little artisanal shop called Confections by Cassandra. It was new in town, but Cassandra, the owner, was a genius with buttercream and had won several local awards. She was warm and professional, and she knew me well. My mom had been using her for my last 2 birthday cakes, and she was impeccably, reassuringly careful. The air was sweet with the smell of sugar and vanilla. We were sampling 5 shortlisted flavors, from a classic vanilla bean to a rich red velvet. The 4th one was a divine Italian buttercream with a delicate, sophisticated hint of hazelnut. "Obviously, we'll skip this one for Maya," Chloe said immediately, pushing the plate away from me and towards Ben without even tasting it herself. Ben picked it up, took a big, appreciative bite, and closed his eyes in ecstasy. "Oh my God, Chloe. You have to try this. This is incredible. It's the best one by a mile. It's the one." "Ben, I can't. Scott nuts. It's not safe for Maya, Chloe said, her voice firm but with a hint of pleading. She wanted him to understand, to just agree and move on. He turned to Cassandra, his smile charming and persuasive. Couldn't you just make a small, separate nut-free cake for Maya? A cute little cupcake or something. This flavor is just too good to pass up for the main event. It's our wedding after all. Cassandra, to her credit, shook her head firmly, her smile polite but unwavering. I'm sorry, Mr. Davies, but my kitchen, while clean, is not a dedicated nut-free facility. We work with nut flours and pastes daily. Even with the most rigorous cleaning, the risk of cross-contamination from a nut flour aerosol is far too high for a sensitivity as severe as Maya's. I couldn't in good conscience guarantee her safety. It's simply not a risk I'm willing to take. Ben's smile tightened imperceptibly at the corners. A shadow of irritation passed behind his eyes. Well, surely for a wedding for one day Maya could, I don't know, just not eat the cake? We could have a separate dessert for her, something special. It's our day after all. Shouldn't we get the cake we truly love? Isn't that what matters most? The air went out of the room. I stared at him, my mouth agape, the taste of the red velvet cake I just tried turning to ash in my mouth. He was literally suggesting in front of the baker and my family that my sister choose a wedding cake that could kill me, and that I should just sit there at the head table smiling and watch everyone else enjoy it. My presence, my safety, was an inconvenience to his perfect day. Chloe's face was pale. But no, absolutely not. We are not having a cake my sister can't eat. End of discussion. It's not just about her eating it. It's about her being in the same room with it, about someone accidentally using the wrong server. It's not happening. He sulked for the rest of the tasting, barely commenting on the other samples. In the car on the way home, the silence was thick and heavy. He was the one to break it, his voice cold and reasonable, which made it so much worse. It's just one meal, Chloe. One dessert. Is her allergy really going to dictate every single aspect of our lives? Our wedding? Where does it end? Do we never travel anywhere? Do we never have friends over for dinner? It's a huge constraint. That was the moment I saw the first flicker of real, deep-seated doubt in Chloe's eyes. She didn't answer him. She just turned and stared out the window at the passing streets of Oak Haven, her expression unreadable. The fight escalated over the next few weeks, becoming the central toxic theme of their engagement. Ben became obsessively fixated on the hazelnut cake. He called it the one that got away. He started making passive-aggressive comments at family dinners, little digs disguised as jokes or concern. Hope this gravy is safe, Maya, he'd say with a wink, or, I read an article about how many people outgrow allergies. Maybe you're just not trying hard enough. Mind over matter, you know? He began sending Chloe links to dubious blogs and YouTube videos from allergy specialists who preached about the power of positive thinking and overcoming phobias. My parents were at their wits' end. My dad, a man of quiet integrity, finally sat Chloe down in his study for a serious heart-to-heart talk. Honey, his attitude towards your sister's life is not just a red flag. It's a flashing neon sign saying, danger, do not proceed. He does not respect her. He does not believe her. And by extension, he does not respect you or this family. A man who would gamble with your sister's life for a dessert is not a man you can build a future with. Chloe was torn apart, a ghost of her former vibrant self. She loved him or the man she thought he was, but she loved me too. The stress was making her physically ill. She lost weight, dark circles appeared under her eyes. She begged Ben to drop it, to choose the red velvet, to just understand. He refused. He accused my family of coddling me, of using my allergy as a tool to control her and drive a wedge between them. The manipulation was subtle at first, then blatant. If you really loved me, you'd choose the cake we want. Your family will always put Maya first. Don't you want a life where you come first? With me. The breaking point came 2 weeks before the wedding. The dresses were fitted, the invitations sent, the honeymoon booked. Chloe called me, her voice trembling so badly I could barely understand her. He did it, Maya. He went behind my back. He called Cassandra. He ordered the hazelnut cake and paid the deposit. He told her I'd changed my mind and that a small, nut-free vanilla cake would be fine for you. I was speechless, a cold, hard knot of rage forming in my stomach. Chloe, you cannot marry this man. He just ordered a weapon of mass destruction for your wedding reception. My mass destruction. He knows what could happen. He doesn't care. I know, she sobbed, the words tearing out of her. I confronted him the second I found the credit card receipt. He said he was sure you'd be fine. That you're probably not even that allergic and just like the attention. That a little scare might do you good. That was it. The line had been crossed from profound ignorance to active, malicious intent. My own sister's fiancé was openly wishing me harm. He is not allowed near me. Ever again. And if that cake is at the wedding, I will not be there. I'm sorry, Chloe, but I can't. Chloe was silent for a long time, the only sound her ragged breathing on the other end of the line. Then in a small broken voice that I will never forget, she said, I need to think. I need to go over there. I need to end this. The next day she went over to Ben's sleek, modern apartment to finally end it. She still had a key, a stupid, hopeful part of her maybe thinking there was still a chance to talk sense into him. He wasn't home. The place was unnaturally tidy like a showroom. As she was mechanically gathering the few things she kept there, a toothbrush, a favorite sweater, some books, her eyes fell on his iPad left charging on the coffee table. It was synced to his phone. As she watched, a notification popped up. A message from a woman's name she didn't recognize. Tiffany. A sick, icy feeling of dread pooled in her gut. This was wrong. She shouldn't. But the memory of his cold eyes when he dismissed my allergy, the credit card receipt for the cake, it all surged up in her. Her hands shaking, she tapped the notification. The message thread loaded. And her world, already crumbling at the edges, shattered completely. It wasn't just one woman. It was several. The messages were graphic, demeaning, and stretched back to the early days of their relationship. He was juggling multiple affairs. But the worst, the most chilling, was the most recent thread with Tiffany. Ben was complaining bitterly about the wedding. About me. Ben, this wedding is a nightmare. My future sister-in-law is a psycho with a fake nut allergy. She's got my fiancé and her whole family wrapped around her little finger. It's all a play for attention and control. Tiffany, ugh, that's the worst. Can't you just uninvite her? Ben, I wish. It's too late for that. But I have a better idea. The bitch is getting a special wedding cupcake. Cassandra at the bakery is a friend of mine, winky face. Let's just say Maya's going to have a very memorable reaction. A little trip to the ER will shut her up for good. Teach her a lesson about faking illnesses. Tiffany, OMG Ben, you're terrible. Face with tears of joy, what if she actually dies? Ben, then I guess she shouldn't have faked an allergy. Problem solved either way. And then maybe Chloe will finally see what a circus her family is. Chloe took screenshots, her hands shaking so violently she fumbled multiple times. She sent the images to herself, to me, and to our parents with the subject line, "Call me now. Emergency." Then, her vision blurry with tears of rage and horror, she called the police. The rest was a horrifying, surreal whirlwind. The police arrived at Ben's apartment just as he got home, whistling, carrying a bag of groceries. He was arrested for conspiracy to commit assault, with the potential for the charges to be elevated depending on the investigation. My parents and I rushed to Chloe's side, our own shock and fury eclipsed by the need to hold her together. We learned through the police investigation that Cassandra, at the bakery, was an old college friend of Ben's, not a real pastry chef. The shop was a front for a money laundering operation he was involved with, and she was deeply in on his plan. She was arrested too. The beautiful, bespoke wedding cake was a lie, just like everything else. The wedding was off, obviously. The elegant calligraphy invitations were now evidence in a criminal case. The white dress hung in the closet, a ghost of a future that never was. In the awful, painful aftermath, as we supported Chloe through the profound trauma of a betrayal that was so much deeper and more sinister than we could have ever imagined, a strange, hard-won peace settled over our family. The constant low-grade anxiety I'd carried for years, the lingering fear that I was a burden, a problem to be solved, finally evaporated. Ben was a monster, a narcissistic and dangerous individual, but in trying to destroy me, he had ultimately revealed the incredible, unshakable strength of the people who truly loved me. My sister chose me. Without hesitation, once she saw the unvarnished truth, she chose me. She saved me. Chloe is in therapy now. We all are, untangling the complex web of manipulation and fear he spun. Some days are hard. The sound of a text notification still makes her jump. But our home in Oak Haven is safe again. It's more than nut-free. It's free of the poison of doubt, manipulation, and condescension that Ben brought into our lives. We found out later through the financial discovery in the court case that he'd been deep in debt, his tech startup a house of cards, and was after Chloe's significant trust fund from our grandparents. He saw my allergy and our family's fierce protectiveness as the main obstacles to controlling her and isolating her from us. Last weekend, Chloe and I baked a cake together. A big, lopsided, chocolatey, completely nut-free catastrophe. We didn't follow a recipe. We spilled flour on the floor, overbeat the batter, and our frosting job was a hilarious disaster. We didn't care. We sat on the kitchen floor, the afternoon sun streaming in, eating huge, messy slices of it straight from the pan, laughing until we cried. It was the most beautiful, most delicious cake I've ever had. Tasted like safety. Tasted like family. Tasted like freedom.